Have you picked up any of the Fortnite action figures yet? Well, in this video, I'm going to compare the Fortnite figures with the G.I. Joe figures and see where they're compatible and where they're not. Stick around. Here we have 3 modern era G.I. Joe figures and 1 Fortnite action figure. They're all in the same scale, 4 inches. So what I have here is Carbide, Airtight, Sci-Fi, and Techno Viper. Carbide has his harvesting tool with him and his wood building material figure stand. Airtight has a figure stand, and yes, someone's going to make note why it's backwards. The reason it's backwards, I'll just tell you real quick, is because it's actually Spirit Iron Knife's stand. And so I didn't want to cause confusion, so I just put Airtight on it backwards. Techno Viper has a gun in his holster back here. So, how do these look? Do these look good to you? Well, if you put these ones side by side, they look pretty close. Now my camera's kind of aimed at a downward angle, so if I were to kind of lift these up from here, they kind of look like Carbide might be a little bit smaller. But if I lift them up and try to keep it fairly even, then you'll notice that the heads are pretty close. So size-wise, these are really close. For a really good comparison, what I can do is kind of rotate Carbide around. I could grab a Techno Viper and put Techno Viper on the figure stand as well. And that kind of gives you an idea that they're really similar in height. They have all the same articulation, except for the Fortnite figures has some additional articulation that the G.I. Joe figures don't have. That being, Techno Viper stand, there you go. That being that the Fortnite figures have a waist articulation, so I can rotate it around like so. The only thing the G.I. Joes have is this, chest articulation. And the other thing is that Fortnite can bend its neck down. It has neck, if you can see right there, a little joint there, neck articulation, whereas the G.I. Joe figures, well, actually, he's a bad one to use. He doesn't really even have head articulation. Whereas the G.I. Joe figures just have the neck articulation. Or sorry, the head articulation. You cannot bend the neck whatsoever. It's a fixed neck. So, you know what? Techno Viper's going to be lazy. He's going to sit down on the job there. So let's look at figure stands first, because figure stands will tell us a lot. That'll tell us about the pegs, or the holes in the feet for the pegs. So if we kind of look at them, let me aim it up so the light gets there. Right there, the Fortnite figure has a bigger, rounder hole in the foot than the G.I. Joe figure does. So what I anticipate is that let's take this out of his hand for the moment. I anticipate that the Fortnite figure will fit, well, fit is a relative subjective word because he'll go on the figure stand, he won't stay on the figure stand because the holes or the pegs are going to be too small. So yeah, he can fit on the G.I. Joe figure stand, just like so. But if I release my hand and he's not steady, he's going to fall right off. So with Airtight having smaller holes on his feet than Carbide, I don't anticipate him fitting on this stand whatsoever. And I'm not going to force it either. I wish I could get the camera in real close. We'll just turn up Airtight upside down. By the way, just on a little side note, there's only one reason I've brought Airtight into this fold, and that's to pay tribute to a fellow YouTuber who just did a video on Airtight, so I thought it'd be a lot of fun to bring Airtight in on this. You know who you are if you've watched the video. So anyway, the camera doesn't really do it justice. Let me rotate this around there. But I do that, and it simply will not go. I could force it, probably get a hammer out, but why would I do such a thing? It's going to break the foot of the G.I. Joe figure. Now, if I try to stand Carbide, the Fortnite figure, up on it, I could probably get him to stand on it, but what's the point of a figure stand if you're having to balance him on it. So there you go. Oh. Come on, you can do it. Lean you forward a little bit. No, the reason he's probably not standing is simply because the pegs are on the G.I. Joe logo. If the pegs were on this flat surface, he'd probably be just fine. But as you can see, let's see, his pegs are in the front of the feet. So when I put that there, it's just not designed for that. You can see the gap, and he's got nowhere to put his foot. Now, if I were to turn it around and show you the Spirit Iron Knife side, let's see, does that change anything? It might help him a little bit more on this right foot. Oh, yeah. Yep, it does. But again, it's cool to know this, but what is the purpose of that? Because he's not going to stand on it anyway. When you put him on his own proper stand, then, he's there. He's only on one peg. I can wiggle him around. Let's do like they do at Dairy Queen. Blizzard, they have to put it upside down. Yep, there we go. I could probably shake him and he'd eventually fall off. Actually, he's holding on pretty good. Oh, there he is. So, use the figure stand for the correct character, the correct line. Now, we got this harvesting tool over here. We already know Carbide can hold on to it because it's pretty easy. You can get his hand right and... Oops, what'd I knock off? I may have knocked off something important. Oh, come on. Hook it right in there. So, yeah, of course, he can carry his own positron harvesting tool. Yeah, that's right. I can carry my own tool. So we'll take this off. Now the question is, can Airtight hold it? Now, the difference in... Let me pull Sci-Fi out for a second here. The difference between what I've learned about the Action Force, the Fortnite figures, are one of a difference, not the difference, but a difference is the hands. Do you see how Carbide's got more of the C shape, kind of like the old original figures had a more of a standard shape. They all had that shape right there. But the several that I've opened so far all have had the same standard, pretty similar shape. Now you get to the G.I. Joe figures, and for some reason, I guess Hasbro decided it's a lot cooler to mold the hands for a very specific weapon. So, like, if you ask me, it looks like Sci-Fi could hold a gun. There we go. Actually, maybe he could hold 2 guns. But I don't know if he could hold the positron harvesting tool, because his fingers are really close. I'd have to bend some fingers out here a little bit, and these are a little bit older figures. It's kind of funny to say that these are older figures, but these are a little bit older figures now, so I don't know what kind of plastic is on them. So he can hold the tool. He kind of looks out of place. He's all green, and the harvesting tool is blue. But there we go. He can hold it. But it's going to fall... There we go. It's going to fall out pretty easy. Now, Airtight, on the other hand, well, no, look at that. He's got a trigger finger there. His right side looks like he's got a trigger finger. Surprised these fingers didn't break off like the old thumbs did. Sorry, just a little side note. So we're going to put this in his left hand and see what happens there. So it looks like he's holding it just a little bit better. It still looks like it's kind of shallow, but it looks like... See if I can get that in the light. Oops, that light's out of the... If you can kind of see right there, his hand just barely gets around it. So I think he holds it a lot better. Now, let's compare the figures for a second here in their hands. Let's pull his wrist out there a little bit. Okay. So the interesting thing is I like Airtight's hands a lot better. They look cool. Carbides are just kind of molded together like the old G.I. Joe figures were. You could see the individual figures. They probably just took... they made these in molds, but they probably just had a little thing that indented right there to create the fingers. And so they probably did the same thing for Fortnite. Now, Airtight, I really like the look. He looks like he's got real hands there. The first finger is... the first finger is separate from the rest of the hand. I don't know if you can tell. I'm going to pull the positron away. I'll hold his hand up, and if you can see, it's definitely separate from the rest of the hand. Oh no, you're doing so good, camera. Focus in. There we go. And so the rest of his hand, while not the fingers are not separate, they just got some really deep grooves in between them to create that look of that hand. So I really like the hands on Airtight. I don't know, let's see, what about Techno Viper? He's different. He's got gloves on. So it's a little bit harder to tell for him. And Sci-Fi, you know, he's got kind of the same thing. He's got gloves on, but you can, well, Airtight had gloves on, so. But you can still see some individual looking fingers there. Anyway, I'm just making a mess of my playfield here. We'll just sit everybody back here. Okay, so let's pull out Techno Viper's, I don't know if it's not a pistol, it's like some sort of a little laser gun thing, isn't it? So, for an example, we'll put it here. Maybe, there we go. So here we go. You don't want to mess with a Techno Viper. So we got Techno Viper standing here with his little, I don't know, laser gun thing. I can't remember what it was. This is the remake of his original, which was a lot bigger. This is like a little, something he can put in his holster on his hip there. So he holds it pretty good. Doesn't look very impressive. You know, he's a bulky figure. Now, let's see. Carbide, can you hold a gun? I mean, you should be able to. There's a ton of Fortnite weapons that they come with. There we go. We'll slide it right in. It was really easy to do. Kind of put him in the same pose. So he holds that pretty well. It does look like a bit of a dinky gun there, but, you know, hey, if it does the job, it does the job, right? So there we go. He holds that really well. I'll turn him upside down. I'll shake him a little bit. It's not going to fall right out. Oops, I'm shaking everything. Sorry for the noise and stuff. So I can slide this out. Slides right in, right out. Let's try his left hand. It's the same. Well, it's a little bit looser there. So this was a lot looser, and that's most likely because I've had this positron in his hand, which if it's a kind of a softer plastic, so that positron is going to kind of keep his hand open. If you can tell, I'll hold him up here. You can kind of see the difference there in the hand. This one's a lot more open. This was originally like this one. So probably you'd need a gun that's got a little bit thicker handle on it. Not this little dinky laser viper, oops, Techno Viper gun. Okay, we're going to slide your gun right on back there. So, something fell on the floor here just a couple minutes ago, so let me take a peek. It may be the other item I'm looking for here. Yep, there it is. So now, yeah, I've just got all these figures here. We got Tripwire, and I promise this is not, you know, a slight social commentary on another YouTuber's videos as recently, but I just happen to have him. And the reason I brought him, he's got a backpack. So we get him out. He's got this hole in his back because there's a peg on the back. We'll call it a backpack in this case. G.I. Joe calls them backpacks. Fortnite call them back bling. It's the same general thing. It goes on your back. But you can slide this right there. And it goes really easy. In fact, the backpack, I'm going to pull that back out. You kind of see this. It conforms to his back as it goes in. So even though a little bit of that pegs is pretty visible, it sticks out, it kind of conforms to his back real nicely. You know, it was kind of made for him, but no, that's not the old thing. Anyway, so I'll take that out now. We'll place Tripwire right there because, I don't know, he'll just stand there. Fortnite figures also have the little hole in the back for back bling. So will this go? Will it backpack? So it kind of goes. It's really tight. I have this feeling that if I forced it, what's happening is this peg is bigger than the hole in the back. So if I were to force this in, one of two things could happen. I'm going to damage this peg. It's going to kind of strip it down and make it to where it won't fit on Tripwire anymore. Or it's going to open up, kind of push that hole. I don't know if it really could push the hole bigger, you know, squeeze it bigger or not. But then he won't be able to hold the Fortnite backpacks. So you may have to play around to see it. There may be different backpacks from G.I. Joe figures. I'm assuming, I would make this great big assumption, that all of these holes are pretty uniform. Because this is a standard modern standard G.I. Joe figure stand. So I'd make that guess that all the holes in their feet are the same. So none of that will ever work. And then I would make the assumption that all the holes in the back are uniform as well, so that you can put a backpack on one figure and then on another, even if well, maybe not. I've never actually tried this before. It's tight, but it does go, well, that's pretty tight. That's almost as tight as this guy here. Maybe it doesn't matter as much as I think. Let's try airtight. That's pretty tight too. Should have brought a few more backpacks for sampling. The reason I'm going ahead and pushing them in on the G.I. Joe figures is the assumption is that it should go. It's the same figure. No, I mean, sorry, it's not the same figure. It's the same style. Now that one went real easy. That's interesting. Let's try this one more time. I could force this thing in. I really could. I think it's just a little bit the wrong size. So you may have to play with a lot of different backpacks. Just for fun. I know it's not going to work. It's radically a different size. I was about to have fun there for a moment. Nope. Radically different. Oh, bazooka. Let's take off your helmet. Just for fun. That actually almost fits. It doesn't click on or hold on. Well, there we go. Something that I bet nobody in the world thought they'd ever see. Carbide wearing Bazooka's helmet. That actually fits really well. Oops. Let's hold on to both feet now. Yeah, I know I'm abusing these toys here, but it's not coming off. It's actually holding on really good. It feels actually like it belongs. That's kind of cool. That's neat. Well, just for fun, let's take off Sci-Fi's helmet. There we go. Well, it does kind of have an interesting look to it, but it's definitely, you can tell, it definitely doesn't fit on Sci-Fi. Wow, my toys, it looks like I've been playing. They're laying everywhere. I haven't picked up my toys. Come on, let's just kind of pick you up and get you settled. Tripwire, you got to sit, man. Let's bend your knees a little bit. Sit. Enjoy yourself. Relax. Airtight's had too many fumes. I don't know. So that's kind of neat to find out that these heads are actually similar in size. Does that make it a good thing or a bad thing? Good thing for Bazooka or bad thing for Carbide? I don't know. Yeah, that was actually really neat. I'm going to do that one more time. Slide that helmet right on there. Hey, that is so cool. It fits so well. Yeah, I dropped Bazooka. We don't need him now. But yeah, I do this. It doesn't really wiggle at all. So neat. Now, the last thing that I'm going to look at here, because I'm not heavy into the customizations of action figures, I generally just like what they are. When I was little, I used to take these guys, I'd take the screw out of their back, because of the old G.I. Joe, the vintage is what they call it now. You could take the screw out of the back here, and the head comes out, the arms come off, the front and the back of the torso separate, and then the waist piece is separate, and then you can pull the legs out. So between those, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pieces, you could rearrange and customize that way. I don't paint. I don't really do anything really wild and crazy. But with these modern figures, there's a hole, but there's no screw. And I've never taken the time to figure out how to customize, like how to take these pieces apart. I know other guys love doing it, and I'm glad they do because it's fun. It's neat to see all their work. I don't do it. The level of customization that I might get into at this point would be this. Pop goes the head. Because you can easily take the heads off. That kind of looks creepy. He's like here. It's like a headless horseman bit here or something. I don't know. Or wasn't there a Hamlet story or something? There we go. There's a creepy thumbnail for this video, right? Anyway. So there's a reason why I'm showing you about popping off the head. Because, turn that around, let's get you on the stand. Because I want you standing front and center. Soldier. Okay. I can't get it on the stand. There we go. We'll just leave one foot there. So I have the strange headless green guy standing there. And you can do the same thing here. You can pop his head off. Scoot some of this stuff off to the side. So we'll get him standing on his. So now we just got a couple guys, one in a blue suit, one in a green suit. They're just hanging out without their heads. We'll put their heads down here. You know, they can kind of a little chit-chat back and forth. The reason I did that was to see, can they swap heads? Because I'm looking at the ball. Well, let's move Tripwire over, and let's move Techno Viper over. Because I'm looking at the little ball joint, whatever you want to call it up here, and they look real similar. They look, well, the camera doesn't seem to show it, but from my point of view, they look real similar. So we're going to take Sci-Fi's head, Carbide's body, and pop it on. So it popped on. Take Carbide's head and put it on Sci-Fi's body, and there we go. So now we've done my level of customization work. And actually, this one looks still pretty cool. Putting Sci-Fi's head on there. Yeah, if you go and, not me, but if somebody else were to go and maybe paint this light gray color, probably a black color to match the neck, and maybe the white part maybe blue, I don't know. Or if they were to take Sci-Fi's helmet and match it to maybe paint all the blue stuff, or sorry, all the green parts of the helmet this blue color, and then the silver parts this gray color of the armor, you could probably have an interesting little cool looking figure. That actually is not too bad looking scale-wise. Not scale, but just neck to head ratio, I suppose. Now, some of these things, now look at him over here. I'm going to switch over here. He looks like he has lost his neck. And his chin is right flat dab on that chest. Now, you could probably argue a little bit it's probably this vest cover. Well, can we take it off? Most of these things you can take off. I'm going to have to pop his head off, probably. Whoa. Popped his head, shot the stand. How cool. Some of these you have to actually take the head off to get. I've never tried taking this off. So I'm going to flip and flop here for probably about 2 minutes. Don't time me. There we go. So we get the... Oh, got stuck on the elbow pad. Uh-oh. There we go. Now we'll pop this back on. Does he look any better? Well, he certainly looks like he has a neck now. So maybe putting something like this on without a vest works really well. Or maybe yet another guy. He's got this little web gear, kind of just whatever it's on his chest. I've never figured out what it is. Maybe putting something like this on this kind of a figure would help him blend in. Actually, overall, Sci-Fi doesn't look too bad as a figure without this chest piece, the vest. So anyway, well, that's my comparison for the G.I. Joe figures and the Fortnite figures. Just kind of wanted to have a quick little see how they interacted, if they interacted, and how they connected, so to speak. So maybe that should be my thumbnail. I don't know. Gosh, this kind of looks cool, though. The head fits on there really pretty good. I wonder. Let's try this guy. Pop his head off. Take Sci-Fi's head off. Whoa, let's just mess up my whole area here. We'll pop this on. See, one of the things that would concern me would be this neck joint right here, because it's pretty visible. See if I can turn around, you can see it. You can kind of see it right there. So that would be the concerning part, is if the jaw doesn't drop low enough to hide that. Like this guy doesn't. It still kind of looks cool. Now he's like some sort of a generic troop. buy some of these Fortnite figures and then get some of your old G.I. Joe figures and swap some heads, and that could be kind of neat. I don't know. Well, Sci-Fi's, well, I suppose what's the point of putting Sci-Fi's helmet on him when Sci-Fi's head works, right? Except for when you take it off, you got this well, now it's not going to come off. It went on too well. Let's come on, you. There we go. So yeah, that kind of worked cool. Let's try one more just for fun. Before we end the video here, let's try Techno Viper. Simply because it's a masked helmet of a figure. There we go. So we got a Techno Viper. He looks like he's got a bit of a shoulder neck issue when we put him on there. Now I don't know if painting his mask would, like a blue-gray color, would work, but I don't know. He looks like he has a crazy long neck. That one just doesn't look very good to me. Maybe it's because, let's go sideways here. Let's see, how do I best show this off? Maybe it's just because of the heads have this more pronounced jaw. And Techno Viper doesn't really have that pronounced jaw. It just kind of flows down. Even Sci-Fi, I think, had a bit of a pronounced jaw. How do you hold heads to where you can see this stuff? Golly. Okay, we're going to put the heads upside down. Use your imagination. So you can see that there's a pronounced jaw here. So maybe it's the ones that have that pronounced jaw. Anyway, that's all for now, folks. Just wanted to do a quick comparison on backpacks, guns, harvesting tools, figure stands, and basic customization head swaps. But as I said, I think the Sci-Fi one probably looked the best of all of them. At least Sci-Fi on Carbide's body. Probably have to try more of the Fortnite heads on G.I. Joe figures to see. There's probably some that work better than others, but this may not be the best one. But I liked this one. This one I think turned out really pretty good. Well, I don't know. Maybe now that I'm looking... Oh, his head's not on. That's why. There we go. Yeah, his head, his jaw hides the neck a little bit. That's what I think works. Okay. So there you go. I hope you found this useful and interesting and informative because, yeah, it's just kind of fun to figure out. That's why I bought the Fortnite figures to begin with, because of the compatibility that I hoped would be with the G.I. Joe figures. So sorry this is a longer video, but I was trying to thoroughly look at some of this stuff. Anyway, thanks for joining me. Until next time, have a wonderful day. Thank you for stopping by. If you want to drop me a line, please do so in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video and want to be notified of future videos, please hit the subscribe button and the bell notification icon next to it. I will see you next time.